Tonight on Newswire L.A., we're taking you to the 20th anniversary celebration of the Women's Federation for World Peace in Downey, California. These are a group of women on the move who are making it possible for peace to take place of war and suffering to be eradicated in the world. We'll also introduce you to author Victoria Wilson Darrah and talk to her in depth about her books, her views on saving Africa, and a life given to God. All of this and more tonight on Newswire L.A., right after the credits. Tonight we're in Downey with the Women's Federation for World Peace as they celebrate 20 years of serving Los Angeles and the world. What is the Women's Federation for World Peace? Well, here's how they're defined via their website. The Women's Federation for World Peace is a dynamic organization that's committed to providing women with the opportunity to create lasting peace in the world through talks, forums at the United Nations, luncheon programs, racial and religious reconciliation projects, national and international conferences, benefits, and service projects. The USA chapter asserts that the family is the cornerstone of peace in the world, and that mature couples are the foundation for strong and loving families. The organization encourages every woman to become a woman of peace through cultivating her heart, the mother's heart, to care not just for her own children, but for the children of others, the children of other nations, the children of the world. All of this by developing and expressing the qualities of empathy, forgiveness, and unconditional love. In the United States, there are more than 35 state and city chapters. It was established in 1992 by Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon. Dr. Moon and her husband, the Reverend Sun Young Moon, are a remarkable couple who have worked together for over 50 years to pioneer ways for peace. The WFWP is a non-profit 501c3 organization. As an organization of women, they adhere to the principle that by working together, taking initiative, and empowering one another across traditional lines of race, culture, and religion, they can create healthy families and resolve the complex problems of our society and the world. Also being provided this afternoon is live music. Let's listen in for a few moments. Also in attendance is guest speaker and author Victoria Wilson Darrah. She'll be talking to the WFWP membership about her new books entitled My Father's Daughter and Journey to Healing for the Broken-Hearted. Miss Darrah will be speaking with Newswire L.A.'s Tricia Mitchell shortly, but let's go to Tricia and the WFWP's Emma Reed.
Hi, I'm Tricia Mitchell with Newswire L.A. and today we are at the Women's Federation for World Peace 20th anniversary, as well as the celebration of a fundraiser for the Schools of Africa, which is one of their many different projects. And I stand here with Emma Reed, the chairwoman for the L.A. chapter. Hi, Emma. How are you? What does it mean for you to be standing here today, having done this for 20 years?
Well, what I see mostly in the 20 years is the benefit that we have been able to give to different projects. So every year it gets bigger. Every year we're expanding, and all of the things that we do go directly to the people that we're benefiting. So yes, this is very important for me because I know there are many projects. You don't know where the money is going, where the energy is going. So basically, that's what I want to support, is something where I can see the result. We have many people who actually go to visit the projects, so we get reports from them directly to find out how it's going, how the people are developing, how they're doing in their lives, and so forth. So for me, it's very rewarding.
So with the Schools for Africa, from its inception up till now, about what percentage would you say of individuals teach in the programs that you guys have started there?
Right now, the record is that we have like over 6,000 graduates. There's a high percentage of them that go on to university, either in their own country or around the world. Maybe 10% have come back to be at the school and help out the school in some way. Some of them are teachers there. One of the programs we have is we really want to employ the people in the country. So we don't send our own people there to be teachers. We want the people there to be the teachers of their own students. So.
So right now, how can someone who might see this distinguish organizations such as yours versus something that might be just getting money for, say, the opposite side of peace, which is chaos?
Well, I would say people have to do research, and that's really all there is to it. They have to research the project that they're actually funding. I don't want to talk about other projects because I don't really know what their situation is, but any project that I support, I would really, really research it and make sure the funds go to the right place. Yeah.
So if they wanted to research Women's Federation for World Peace, both USA and international, how would they go about doing that?
We have a website. It's WFWPI.org. That's the international. The national is WFWP US.
It was mentioned during the luncheon that Women's Federation for World Peace is an NGO and in connection with the United Nations. Could you explain to us just a little bit about what that means?
We have economic consultative status with the United Nations. That means one of our members, our international members, actually sits on the board when they have meetings in Geneva. And they discuss and they are asked their opinions about certain events and certain problems. So it's very important for us to be a part of that because then we can get our ideas across.
Now, does that also make it easier for you to be able to go into the different countries to be of assistance and create service projects?
It depends on the country. Some countries don't allow other organizations to come in, but really it depends on the country. But it does give us more power to start new projects, yes.
Now, as far as the LA chapter goes, what is it here in the city or county of Los Angeles? What projects do you have going on right now, such as like Slate?
Mm-hmm. Right now we're redeveloping our Clean Slate program. The Clean Slate program is designed for character-based education. Basically, it's for middle and high school students. We want to educate them to how to stay pure until marriage, also to live a moral life and think more about their education and their future rather than just what teenagers sometimes just do. Yeah. And we should have that rolling out in September, and we'll have everything ready. and we'll be looking for places where we can teach that. We did have it in public schools for 3 years until the funds ran out.
So, with the funding running out, where would you be offering this course?
We will go back to public schools. We go to private schools, to church organizations, churches, community organizations, anywhere where they'll have us, anywhere where there's teenagers.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And just one last thing, what do you foresee for not just the Women's Federation for World Peace International in USA, but specifically the LA chapter for the next 5-10 years? Where do you see it?
Basically, I want the Clean Slate program to really take a foothold in Los Angeles, because I see a lot of children with problems, especially in my neighborhood. And it takes several years to really develop a solid foundation. So that's what I'm going to be working on mostly. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Emma, and having us here at the lunch. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
And now we're going to spend some quality time with author Victoria Wilson Darrah. As we said earlier, she's on hand to address the group and do signings of her 2 books. The UCLA-educated Darrah has been traveling the world, continuing a mission to save Africa which was started by her late father. You'll find that she has a unique perspective on the situation, especially the wars that have scarred the land and its people. This unique perspective doesn't come from being an observer. It comes from having her own life turned inside out. You see, her father was killed while trying to broker peace between warring factions. She's picked up the baton and is continuing on where he left off. Let's listen in to a portion of her address to the members of the Women's Federation for World Peace.
And I remember on that trip, I held the hand of a dying little child. And that day, I said, from here on out, I'm going to be an advocate for the African child. You see, my father would tell me, he said, always believe in something enough to die for it, otherwise you're just existing. At that point, I'd been looking for something. I'm such a driven person. I needed an anchor. I needed something to believe in that I could die for. And that moment, I realized I believe enough in the African child that I will die for them. And I remember seeing Christianity in action, because my father says, we are God's hands and feet to heal this problem and all the problems of humanity. And I saw this in action because I was seeing my father, a tall man, 6'2", in the kitchens of sorority, in the schools, trying to teach the other teachers how to make porridge for the children. My mother, when she was able to go with us, would also come with us, and I'd see them both in the kitchen. And I said, that they were grooming me to become a compassionate and caring Christian. But at that time, I didn't believe in their God. I said, this blonde, blue-eyed business, I don't understand, This Jesus, I don't know. I'm looking for a black God for my black soul. And so I was still searching. But I couldn't run away from the fact that my father and mother set such an example of true Christianity. And after that visit, I returned to California to pursue my master's in African studies because I said, I need to know more why Africa is caught up in the madness that it's caught up in. And I remember being in university at UCLA, and we would debate Africa's problems and try to come up with some solutions. And we were only armchair philosophers, however, the best we could do was sit and watch from our armchairs and see Africa just completely disintegrate. And whenever I saw the children of Africa, I call them my children, flea-bitten and dressed in raggedy clothes, and just, some children couldn't even move themselves out of their own excrement. They were just that emaciated. And I would cry, and I would say, what kind of a God is this? But as I continued to search, my father had told me, Victoria, when you reach the end of your search, when you reach the end of yourself, when you're at the very bottom, call out one name, Jesus. And I said, no, don't understand this cross, down the cross business, blood, I don't know. But I did get to the end of myself, And when I was at the very bottom and I had no more answers and I had tried everything, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the whole thing, and nothing seemed to meet my soul. I'd even tried transcendental meditation, I tried Islam, I tried, you name it, African traditional religions. I tried everything, trying to find an anchor for my soul. But when I was at the bottom, I remembered my father's words, and I called out Jesus, and in that second, there's nothing I could have smoked, snorted, injected that freed me like Jesus freed me that day.
Hi, I stand here with Victoria Wilson Darrah, author, producer, director, and keynote speaker at the Women's Federation for World Peace fundraiser for the Schools of Africa. Hi, how are you, Victoria? Tell me about your book, My Father's Daughter.
My Father's Daughter was written as a tribute to my father. He was an international evangelist from Uganda. In 1986, he was in Uganda trying to reconcile the warring factions when he was murdered. And I decided then that his message and his mission and his example were too important to die. So this was my first attempt to give him the tribute that I felt he deserved.
Now, as a producer and director, you mentioned when you were speaking that you left Uganda to come to California because of all the strife that was going on. Tell us what that experience was like, leaving your country to come to California.
You know, I had mixed feelings. I was about 16 and a half by the time we moved, and so I left a lot of my life in Uganda as I knew it, my closest friends. But it was also exciting to be coming to America. You know, that's kind of an interesting thing. So it was difficult, though, at some point because I found myself in a completely white school, and I was the only black girl in the school. And so that senior, I spent the year as a senior in high school. And then from there, my parents went back to Africa and left me in America to go to college. So I spent a couple years at Biola and then USC. And eventually I graduated from USC with a BA in cinema television and then a master's from UCLA in African studies.
And what made you pick cinema television as opposed to anything else like, I don't know, maybe teaching or something of that nature?
I realized that Africans were the most written about, most photographed people in the world, but they were the least understood. So I wanted to give them a voice. I wanted to show our pictures from our point of view and to show the world that, you know, who we were from our perspective. And so that's why I decided to go into cinema and television.
Okay. And you mentioned in your speech that there's a lot of questions about why Africans killing Africans, and I really liked what you said. Could you repeat that again so that our audience can actually hear and truly understand that it's not Africans just killing Africans? There's so many different factors that play into that.
Yes. It's definitely multifactorial, beginning with colonialism and ending today with our leadership that's in charge now. They have a lot to do with why we're so bankrupt. Colonialism, of course, separated and bonded together different tribal groupings in a very irreconcilable way. And these were autonomous tribal groupings that had to be now forced to be a nation. And that's where it started. And also, I forgot to mention in the speech that the worst thing that ever happened to Africa was the introduction of the gun. You know, if there had been no guns introduced, you know, you can kill a few people with spears and bows and arrows, but not on the mass, you know, way that we're doing with guns and indiscriminately. And they arm young kids and, you know, so that's a problem. But we have so much wealth in Africa. If it was well managed and there was no corruption, we could feed all the children.